Great to see you, Samurai Success community. I am back with David Olcott, CEO of Samurai Success, best-selling author of Swords of Illumination, and we are back for the second month of the Scroll, where we are sharing insights and timeless wisdom to help our community be more successful. How are you doing, David?
Very good, Ryan. Just warms my heart seeing you, baby.
Yeah, come on. You've got a heart for serving your community, really making a difference to people. And one of the top things that our community are looking for is this understanding of what are the characteristics of a successful entrepreneur. And I know you've been in this game for a very long time. You've helped hundreds and hundreds of entrepreneurs be even more successful. So you are like the perfect person to share some insights and wisdom around what it means to be a successful entrepreneur. So maybe we just start with the basics. Like the word entrepreneur and entrepreneurship is being thrown around a lot these days. Maybe let's just simplify things by clarifying what we mean by those terms.
Yeah, so let's jump into where words have such power and meaning, and we've lost some of that understanding and discernment between words, right? So people come to me all the time and they say, what is mastery and what is being a master, kind of stuff. And I'm always shocked when somebody says, well, I'm a master of something. Okay, let's define that a little bit differently before we jump into entrepreneurship. So being mastery is a pathway. It's not a destination. And so pathway of mastery is someone saying, hey, I'm going to dedicate my life and discipline my life to a very specific subject. And it could be martial arts, it could be business, it could be relationship. It's a trillion different subjects you could choose from. But being on the path of understanding that at a very deep level is a path of mastery. A master is someone who has chosen to step on the path, not someone who has completed the path. So let's get clear about that first. Second part is entrepreneurs are, by the way, incredibly rare. True entrepreneurs that we're going to be talking about today. So I know we celebrate entrepreneurs all the time, but I'm going to give you some light side to them and some dark side to them, so you can then make some choices around how you really want to see yourself and identify yourself as one of these groups of people. So entrepreneurship, I jumped online, so I want to read this to you so we're really clear, because entrepreneurship can be defined in so many different ways. So I was like, let's just make it as simple as possible. So entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity, often involving innovation, risk taking to create and manage a business venture aiming to generate value or profit.
Mm,
That's a pretty darn good definition of entrepreneurship. An entrepreneur is someone who has chosen that path.
mm.
It's never going to be somewhere you end up. It's not a destination. It's an experience of things. Are some people gifted entrepreneurs? Yes. There are certain parts of our group of this planet that have this natural characteristics that we're going to talk about in a minute of being an entrepreneur. But for the rest of us, it's practice. You've got to train to be an entrepreneur,
Mm.
because the risk taking is one of those very humbling events and experiences that true entrepreneurs always have to go through. And I will tell you, if you just take your, risk taking, you just jam it to 100, does that make me an entrepreneur, Dave? No, it makes you a mad person, right? And crazy. So it's about finding this beautiful balance of some of these characteristics we're going to talk about that really feeds into this entrepreneur.
Yeah, I before coming to Samurai Success, I've been part of the personal development industry who have somehow taken this understanding of entrepreneurship is just having a mobile, having a laptop, working from wherever, and then you call yourself hashtag entrepreneur. For some reason, at a soul level, I've never really embraced that. I think I deep down knew that there was something more to it than just having a laptop and declaring myself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I grew up in a time where a lot of the speakers and folks out there in the field were always saying, "Hey, you're the CEO of your life. You're David Alcott Enterprises, and you're the CEO in this." And by the way, that was such a moment of shift in my own brain about how to think about my
Mm.
world and my representation, my role distinction in how I wanted to approach life. But I will tell you, it came at a huge cost, because as soon as I announced that I am a CEO of my own business, guess what the universe provided? Everything else that's not that, and I was not prepared.
Yeah.
So preparedness is as much about being an entrepreneur as it is being a CEO. And I will tell you, Oftentimes, great entrepreneurs are terrible CEOs.
Hmm.
What are you
Hmm.
talking about? Well, this is 30 plus years of experience of actually experiencing this, not reading out of a book or seeing in a movie that everybody goes, oh, every entrepreneur is a great CEO. It's not my experience. And that reason that comes down to this is because the characteristics that's needed for each one of those role distinctions is very different. And the balancing of those is very different. And those titles have very clear indications to other people. So understanding that is a big part of our conversation for today.
Yeah, I love that. That's what people are after. What are the top characteristics? You know, the world is give me a little bit of tidbit, give me a habit, give me a behavior. So that's what we're going to equip people is characteristics. At a characteristic level, you've helped hundreds of these people be successful. What would you say are the top three, in any particular order, top three characteristics of successful entrepreneurs?
So as you understand the characteristic, the very first thing you understand is your role as an entrepreneur. And
Mm.
the role is you have to understand who your boss is. Wait a minute, I became an entrepreneur, so I'm the boss. Okay, that's our first odd identification and lesson of experience. True entrepreneurs understand they have a boss. Their
Mm.
boss is not their customer. You know, Dave, the customer is always right. Okay, if the customer is always right, why are they coming to you for advice? They're coming to you for a solution. So this customer's always right concept doesn't really work in the world of business. It's great theory, great cliche kind of thing, but it doesn't really work. Well, then how about what is the boss then? Well, the boss is the marketplace. And that is a grouping of customers, all in a particular industry. Your role as an entrepreneur, from our perspective, is to go find a solution to a problem that already exists in that marketplace. And what's interesting about that is that we actually call that vision, because your vision is the solution to the problem that exists in the marketplace. So once you understand this dynamic, if you have a boss and you're serving that community called your marketplace, then you're in the right realm with us. You're truly being in service. And I will tell you, there's nothing more important as about we talk about these next characteristics, especially the word commitment.
Mm.
You have to understand that if you believe your employees are your boss or your customers are your boss, you're going to get lost. So let's talk about that. And now I've identified who my boss is. It's the marketplace. I'm in service of that. Now I start talking about the characteristics. Now, you asked for three. I'm actually going to give you four today. One is a bonus. How about that? So,
True style. True style, of course.
are you sure? Do I have your permission? All right, good. So the very first characteristic is someone who has the ability to create a very clear vision because that's the solution to the problem in the marketplace. So characteristic number one has to be vision, your ability to vision and see that solution with as much detail as you possibly can. Number two, commitment to that vision. Once you have the solution, I promise you that if you worked in any round field, that the first person is going to want to talk you out of it is going to be you. And how many times have you had a brilliant idea and then just, time, whatever, you did anything about it, you talked yourself out of it. You have to be so committed, Ryan, to your vision that no one can talk you out of it, including yourself. That vision, that solution has to be so crystal clear. So this is a big deal. And it's like, oh, you're just rattling off these characteristics. Listen, this takes time to develop this vision. Once you have it, you've got to be committed to it.
And I imagine with the tips that you shared last month around writing it down,
Yes.
having that vision, writing it down so you don't have to keep replaying it, revisiting it from a slightly different angle. I imagine that's quite important.
Well, you just got to the bonus characteristics.
Oh
So let me
no.
give you the third.
We're on
You're
the
right
same
on board.
path.
So this idea is the third one is really about innovation. Now we've all heard this, right? But here's the deal. With number three and number four that I'm going to give you are so intertwined, they're so symbiotic that you got to find this natural balance with things because innovation is really an important part of being an entrepreneur. No doubt about it, because the marketplace shifts. Your solution that once was successful shifts. The marketplace changes. The customers within that marketplace changes their ideas, their values, all those things are changing. Innovation is an absolute must of this. But it's very difficult to do innovation if you haven't done number four first, which is building the structure.
Mm.
So here they are. Top four most important things to an entrepreneur. Have to have a vision. You got to be committed to that vision. Understanding innovation only through the structure that already exists. I cannot tell you how many times I've worked with employees that are just pulling their hair out around their bosses who happen to be entrepreneurs or CEOs, things like this, the business owner, and they've just gone to a seminar. They've just read a book. They've just talked to a friend of theirs who's known him for 20 years or whatever it is. And they come back with a stunning new idea that has nothing to do with the existing business. Now, in the entrepreneur mind, believe me, we are so creative about, I can rationalize this idea into my current business. I can jam that thing in there. And that's what happens. We take this square peg and jam it into a round hole because it sounded so exciting.
Mm.
This is where the entrepreneur gets us in trouble. As a matter of fact, here at Samurai Success, we actually train and teach you and coach you about how to get the entrepreneur out of the business as quickly as possible. The entrepreneur is so important for the first phase of it. But when you start moving into growth and innovation, the only time the entrepreneur is really necessary for that business model moving forward is when something isn't working and innovation is needed. Most entrepreneurs do not like structure. And structure is the thing you can innovate on. So these have to work in symbiotic nature, compliance with each other. And the entrepreneur doesn't like one of those things. So this is where the manager and entrepreneur have to work together, and the technician, of course. But having those elements together is so, so important, because if not, all you're doing is throwing ideas and ideas and innovating, and you're creating chaos. And that chaos is the thing that goes against the three most important things for your employees. Three most important things for your employees: security, complexity, a clear connection between what they're doing, the benefits to themselves, and the benefits to the business overall. If you're throwing idea after idea and you're constantly, there's a Japanese term called kaizen. If you're constantly and never ending improving, then all you're doing is creating wakes of chaos that's disturbing the rest of the company, and they can never really get settled, and they cannot get committed to the work. So that's the dark side of the entrepreneur, right? Light side, of course, is the innovation, the commitment, the vision, and the structure of those things. The dark side is that if you don't have those things in kind of that order, you really create a wake of chaos that you don't even realize you're doing.
For someone listening right now, the penny's just dropped.
Excellent.
The penny's just dropped. What do they do next?
So what they need to do is, if you're really hearing that and this resonates with you, or if you're having challenges in your business right now, I know this is tough, but the very first place you always have to look out if something isn't going well in your world is you got to look here, right?
Mm.
So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, and you're dealing with some of these issues we just talked about, the thing you're probably missing from our experience is the structure element. Structure really solves so much of this issues. It doesn't guarantee your people aren't going to leave or turnover rates, all that stuff. But over time, once you have that structure in place, people really adhere to that because it takes care of those three things again. They're secure in the nature that there's structure here. They're secure in this idea of, hey, this complexity isn't going to keep changing. And I'm very clear to the connection of what I'm doing every single day, the benefits to myself and the benefits to the business. So I know that I'm winning. I'm coming to work and I'm having purpose. So the real answer to all this conversation is you're probably missing enough structure in your business to keep it moving forward, or you don't have enough structure in place to actually remove you from your obligation of the business. And that's what we do really well at Samurai Success. We build that structure so that you are not necessary in your business. Are you valuable in your business? Absolutely. You're just not obligated to have to go to work and create all that innovation and ideas all the time, because your business is running, it's being profitable, it's sustainable.
Yeah. One of the things I've been fortunate enough to do is interview some of your clients, and I had a wonderful conversation with a chap called Christopher Fett, who is absolutely an entrepreneur. And graciously, in his testimonial that we recorded, he talks all about the journey of being a client of Samurai Success. So, if you're curious as to the process and what that experience was like, Christopher is a highly successful individual. Yeah, so I'm going to tag that video in the show notes. So go and check out, go and listen to Christopher's experience of coaching with Samurai Success. But yeah, he's a wonderful example of all that you've just shared and the journey that he's been on with you.
It's a perfect. And by the way, he loved it the whole time, right?
He loved
No,
the
it was
results.
well, he loves the results. He didn't always like the journey of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful interview. Highly recommend it.
Brilliant. David, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to coming back next time.
Thanks, Ryan. Always appreciate you, man.